So just when you thought I had posted this week's weekly Jasmy update, I'm coming back at you with weekly update number 2. What's up, folks? This is Jesse with Keeping It Real Finance, channel that always has your back and tells it like it is. As I just mentioned, this is going to be our Jasmy weekly update number 2. I didn't expect to be making this video, but there is just so much that's been going on with Jasmy, especially over the last couple of days. I have been scouring Twitter and I have found a ton of information that's come out after my last video. So I thought that was going to be it for the week, but there's just too much to ignore it, and that's what I'm going to be giving you today in this video. So we got a lot here. We're going to be combing through Twitter, kind of looking at these various news stories and trying to dissect what they mean a little bit, all right? So that being said, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit the like button. If this is your first time to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And if you click the bell, you'll be made aware whenever I post time-sensitive content just like this. And now, let's get it going. All right, so we're going to kick off our second weekly update on Jasmy, and we're going to start here with a couple of posts from Blake. So I thought these were, the first one was really good, and then the second one's about our group. But the first one here, Blake, which, by the way, if you're not following him yet, it's Sagan 1K at Blake Berryhill on Twitter. Highly recommend you give him a follow. He's the host for our calls that we do, very knowledgeable, finds all kinds of things that I never find. So that being said, he posted this little chart here, and he says, in my opinion, we're between stage 1 and 2 regarding Jasmy at the transition from crawling to walking regarding the infancy stage. All right. So if you were to click on this link, and you can find it either through Blake's Twitter page or through mine where I retweeted it. Phase 1, popularization. So with Jasmy, the goal is to acquire users of the Jasmy platform, spread it across knowledge, age, and gender. I would say we're definitely doing that right now. Second period, value growth period. So as the number of users increases, the quantity and quality of personal data that can be shared will increase. Not only the name and address, but also various personal information such as shopping history, insurance contracts can be managed, and the value of personal data will increase. So I would agree with Blake here. I think we're kind of between the two of these. We're definitely not full-blown into this second period yet, but we are in this promotional, the second 25 weeks of IR, the promotional activity for Jasmy. Now, after that, and I had mentioned this in the video earlier in the week, the ecosystem expansion, third period, right? We're nowhere near this yet. So at this stage, the environment is such that personal data can be provided and rewards can be received as compensation. We are not there yet, okay? This allows people to become aware of and utilize the value of personal data. That's the crux of the entire platform here. That's what this is all about, is that right there. Now, fourth period, data market price establishment period. So it says here, the market price has been completed as a place where personal information can be exchanged. Here, the individual can take ownership of all personal information. An environment will be created in which data transactions can be freely performed between individuals and companies and between companies. So that's where this is really going to get crazy. So I foresee this part happening down the road. This is definitely not a this year solution. This is probably going to be a sometime maybe towards the tail end of next year, I would imagine, when we get this far. All right. Regardless, though, very good chart here. Very knowledgeable. It's good to have this kind of knowledge on Jasmy because, you know, it helps us learn a lot of what's going on. All right. Now, next, Blake also posted, I had asked him about this earlier when our next call was. And so he went ahead and did this post. If you're on CT, there's a button here that says reminder. All you have to do is hit that. And if you have the app on your phone, it'll remind you when that Twitter space goes live. So this one here, it's set to, I think mine says 5:30 p.m. I am on Eastern Time, US. So that's kind of the time frame here. All right. So definitely check that out if you get the chance. Obviously, we've got a lot of big influencers in the Jasmy space that are on that call. And so I highly recommend you check that out. You can get a lot of knowledge on there. All right. Now, next, so Hera had this post here where he says, Jasmy will begin technical cooperation with Mystiko Network, a zero knowledge proof technology company. The cooperation with this company, with its common vision and technology, will be necessary achievement in the field of data security. Okay. And so I think the big takeaway here is that this is a partnership, right? So here is the actual partnership announcement on it. It says, bridging the on chain and off chain world with privacy. Jasmy begins discussion to integrate with Mystiko.network to protect user data privacy in the realm of IoT. So I looked up this Mystiko .network. I went to the site, and it's basically a privacy protocol. Okay, so that's what it is. It's a privacy layer. And now, so it says down here, obviously, they're excited to work with them to empower user privacy in the world of IoT. That's a big part of all of this is going to be privacy security, right? So they say at Jasmy, we believe users should have control over when, how, and by who their data is used. Only when users are given full control and transparency of their data will users start being comfortable with sharing their data and making the IoT communication efficient, private, and secure. I would agree with that. So they say, however, user data privacy isn't ideal in Web 2, and user data never really belongs to the users. That's the crux of everything. That's again, this is the underlying theme within this whole platform. Is giving the user first of all, rewarding them for their data, tokenizing their data, but also making it safe and secure. That's what it's all about. Okay. Now it says users have to trust a particular company platform to handle their private data properly and transparently. But in some cases, user data is often exploited. And I would say that's probably been the track record to date with the various companies that have our user data. There are numerous companies out there, right? So now to enable effective and secure communication of IoTs, we shall create a network with these three key features. So anonymity, transparency, and traceability, right? So it says Jasmy is dedicated to ensure data privacy and security of IoT at scale. So Jasmy's working on a scaling solution to pass encrypted data between anonymous users of IoTs without revealing messages to intermediaries, and has designed a IoT chip to enable IoT devices with low processing power to take advantage of the blockchain platform. So there you have it. So it is all about this privacy protocol partnership. Now, what's interesting here is when I had went to this website, the Mystiko.network, what I really found interesting, by the way, this is really technical. Probably the average person, I don't know if you would get a whole lot reading most of this. It's technical, but it's mainly just a privacy protocol layer. All right. What I found interesting was down here where it says connected privately by Mystiko. So we've got Avalanche, Ethereum, BNB chain. We've got Polygon, Matic. Apparently all using it already. All right. So very bullish on that. I thought that was awesome. Now, coming back over to Twitter. So there was another post here by Hera, which says, and this is about Sagan Tosu. This is the football squad, the soccer team, right? So Jasmy, an official sponsor of Sagan Tosu, will provide the fun token system to them. Interesting, right? So he says, by making the NFT technology, we hope to create a community where fans and the team can grow together. More details will be announced at the sponsor match. Now, what this is basically talking about here is using their Jasmy IoT blockchain technology to create NFT tokens they're referring to them as fun tokens that then give you access to things with the team. So a good example of this is the Chili's blockchain. They own a website called socios.com. It's socios.com. And on there, it's all about fan tokens with various sports leagues, across the planet. I want to say the UFC, I think, is in there. I've done a video on Chili's. It was a long time ago. But the bottom line is it's all about the fan tokens. And what happens when you own these fan tokens is you get sort of like special access to the team. That's what you get with this NFT. So, you may be voting on if they're going to change the let's say the paint scheme of the stadium, and they'll say, hey, you get a vote in this. Okay, interesting. They may have a special practices or something going on that if you have this NFT you can go out there, or they may have a meet and greet with the team. The list kind of goes on and on and on about all kinds of, basically, like almost like an insider privilege that you get by having that token. And so it looks like they're doing exactly that here in the Japanese market. And why this is important is you got to realize that they're the one and only the big blockchain here that's been approved for the Japanese market. So they're the Japanese Bitcoin, right? So that's why this is really important, because they can basically, this is just the beginning of starting this whole market, but they could greatly expand this from here. So this is a super positive development in terms of Japanese, sporting events. And you can even take this further. I've done videos in the past where I've referenced Spotty. Spotty's the crypto rapper, totally awesome. Check him out if you haven't. His handle on Twitter is Spotty Wi-Fi, and he does sort of the music version of this, where if you buy the NFTs, you get special access to him, and where he'll ask a question and have the community weigh in on it or whatever, right? So I think this whole fun token idea, you could go really far with this. This is just the very, very beginning here. But in terms of Japan, you got to think of all those different sports teams, sports leagues. You could roll this into music if you wanted to. There's a lot you can do by having that NFT that gives you special access and, like I said, an insider privilege, right? So very bullish post here on that one. And, I think what's really important too, before I leave that, is you got to realize in terms of competition in Japan, I really don't think they have any. So it's kind of like Jasmy is the big player in this space for Japan. So that's really important, right? Now, next, here was another post by Hera about the Nippon travel agency and Jasmy are launching a new user-generated content demonstration using personal data lockers, the PDL, and Edge AI. Okay, so what does all of that mean? So here is the actual article on this, where they talk all about using Jasmy, the personal data locker, and the Edge AI for it. So what it basically comes down to is users who are using this travel agency and use the personal data locker can put their information in there. The AI can look at that information and say, hey, let's say you took a trip to somewhere like Paris last year. And it could say, it looks like here you went to Paris. Maybe you would also like to go to, another major city in France. And here's exactly what you could do. And here are the hotels. And here's the route. And here are all these things around it, right? So the AI looks at it and says, hey, Jesse likes to take trips to Paris. He likes to go to France. So here's a place that's similar to Paris that's also in France. Here's an entire itinerary. Here's everything that we could give him and say, here's your whole travel package. It would cost you X amount of dollars and you could do it between the following dates. So, like, that's kind of like the future here, I mean, you think about it and you go, holy crap. Like, this again is a whole nother different expansion area for the use of Jasmy, the use of IoT, blockchain, AI, all of it kind of comes together here. And if you could basically predict users' future travel plans, future travel trips, and therefore provide them to them ahead of time, well, that user may be a lot more inclined to use Nippon Travel Agency as opposed to, going somewhere totally different. Like I don't know if in Japan if they have, like Hotwire or Expedia, but why would I go to one of those if I could provide my data through the personal data locker in Jasmy's technology, and then Nippon already sends me a trip that says, "Hey Jesse, you would absolutely love this. Here's your trip for next year. 5 days. Here's the itinerary. Here's roughly what it'll cost. It's within your same budget of what you paid before." All the AI has to do is look at your data and then kind of figure out what you would like based on what you've already done. And that really shouldn't be hard to do. So, super, super bullish post here on the Nippon travel agency. I really liked that one. That was one of the big ones and why I wanted to do this video, because I think that's mega bullish, also on top of the Sagan Tosu fund token. Okay. Now, if that wasn't enough, it keeps going. This is why I had to do this video. So Hera announced 2 more exchange listings. I just talked about this in the last video. They had 28 last year. They had 8 by March. Well, guess what? Now they have 2 more super exit users. Okay, so that's a new one, Super X, an exchange here. Look, it's already got 20,000 followers. Well, now Jasmy's on there. Okay, great. Then we go up, Apollo X users, 32,000 followers. Now Jasmy is on there too. Absolutely crazy. The amount of exchanges are just insane. All right. Then I found this post here by the Colonel. So Binance just added Jasmy as a collateral asset. So keep in mind, for Binance to do that, it means Jasmy has value as collaterals are freezed, and it would do that if Jasmy didn't. It would do that if Jasmy didn't have future value. Wouldn't do that, I think is what they're trying to say, right? So another big post there. So Binance Loans adds collateral assets, Jasmy and Rune. And I appreciate posts like this because here in the US, I do not get the full Binance. I get the scaled back, terrible version that's Binance US, right? So hopefully they make Binance US better and better and better. But when they stop doing the full Binance, our view here is so limited in comparison to everyone else around the world that has the full Binance. So definitely appreciate posts like that one. Bullish posts there as well. So Binance Loans adds collateral assets, Jasmy and Rune. So they add Jasmy, right? Now, moving forward a little bit more. So this post here, so by Mr. Whiskers. So Jasmy's strategy briefing session aimed at democratization of data was held for the first time. Japan News. So I didn't know. Again, I didn't even know that this was coming up. So when you click on this article, I think it's this one here. Yeah, so here we go. So here is the article. So this is at Japan News, right? So Jasmy Company Limited strategy briefing session aimed at democratization of data was held for the first time. And I started scrolling through there, and it's totally awesome. Like, look, there's the whole team. There's our boy Hera right there. He's on the far left. So pretty awesome. Obviously, Katsumasa Sato. He's the head here, the CEO. Just amazing seeing the team. It's like there's some of the guys. Here's some of the guys. We see all their pictures all the time, right? So, scrolling down through this one. So here he is right here and says, about Jasmy's management strategy. Katsumasa Sato, president and CEO, explained the background and strategy of data democratization, which is positioned as Jasmy's corporate mission. I want to realize a society that can be utilized. The handling of personal information in the modern information society has a structure in which profits are collected only by some companies due to centralized mechanism, and various problems have been addressed. We are building a platform that solves this problem, satisfies individuals, companies, and communities by popularizing Web3 technologies such as blockchain and unified decentralized solutions using IoT. Leading the Web3 era, I want to go, right? So a little bit on the translation's a little tricky there, but you can kind of read between the lines of what he's saying. Totally awesome. About the Jasmy ecosystem. So Hera, So, explanation of Jasmy's service. Um, and it says here, he explained that at Jasmy, we aim to be a platform that can transaction a large amount of IoT data with a mechanism backed by the value of personal data. So, regarding the newly announced, and this is interesting, DD coin. This is the first I've heard of this, the newly announced DD coin. So, DD coin is a common currency with a yen denominated stablecoin cryptocurrency function. So that reads to me like DD coin is a stable coin based on the yen, right? So users can easily save points, um, like points as consideration for providing their own data. I want to make it a mechanism. Furthermore, the crypto asset Jasmy coin traded on exchanges around the world will be used as a utility for activating our wallet. So we don't even have this wallet yet, right? But that's the first mention of it that I've seen anywhere. So he's talking about Jasmy being used to activate your wallet. Interesting, right? And as one of the few Japanese operating companies that issue crypto assets, it will be a real economy. I want to provide a mechanism that can contribute. So, in addition, Jasmy's service was introduced by Takashi Hagawara. This is director and software development manager. Jasmy offers a unique platform by combining industry standard compliant blockchains and NFTs with a proprietary services Smart Guardian SG and Secure Knowledge Communicator SKC. In addition, personal data, and we will use AI to process and analyze data and build various services. So, super bullish on this right here. You know, they went on to talk about the travel industry here. Obviously, that's that Nippon travel agency that we just talked about. Um, Pretty cool. Down here, you know, they're talking about Jasmy Secure PC for the contact center. Again, that's a whole nother way this can go. And then down here at the bottom, they're talking about the sponsorship of Sagan Tosu. So, really, really recommend you check out this article. You could definitely find where I had retweeted this one. Again, that was from Mr. Whiskers posted that one. So, thank you for that post. Really, really awesome. A lot of good info there, right? So, lastly, the only other thing I had to talk about in regards to news was I did a post earlier today saying should Jasmy try to get listed on Robinhood? Kind of a yes or no, right? I mean, should we do this? Should we not do this? I don't know. So far, out of 250 votes, 90% say yes. It should go to Robinhood. So, Robinhood recently added Shib, they added Matic, they added, I think, Compound. Quite a few they added on there, but prior to that, they hadn't added any coins in a really, really long time. So I would imagine for Jasmy to get listed on Robinhood, this is not an overnight thing. It may take a little while, but ultimately, I don't see why not, especially when they're adding every other exchange. Now, one of the comments here on this I thought was pretty good, where somebody mentioned, it'd be great if they went to Gemini. And I agree, it's kind of weird that they're not on Gemini yet. So, hey, why not? That's another exchange. I mean, if they keep adding them, why not get on Gemini also, right? So maybe that's around the corner. But I'm definitely interested to see where this uh, poll ends up. I've got 6 days left on it, so we'll see ultimately where it rounds out, and maybe I'll talk about it next week with how it ends. But as of right now, it looks like roughly 90%, over 90%, almost 91% of the community wants it to be listed on Robinhood. All right. Now, outside of that, let's go over to CoinMarketCap real quick. Really, the big takeaways right now, the market's down a little bit because Bitcoin is down, but Jasmy keeps adding holders, keeps going up, right? So now we're at 24,975, goes up every single day. And it's continued to do that, over pretty much this entire year. It's going up every single day, right? So we're adding more holders. That's bullish. Going to the actual chart right now, because I know some people are probably thinking, well, what's happening with the chart? What's going on, right? Well, right now we're kind of in this lower area right here. So if we dip down further, I would not be surprised if we ultimately bounced somewhere around what's that 0.018. That could absolutely happen. Again, just like with before, all I'm really paying attention to here is this bottom trend line, and I want to see us bounce off that bottom trend line. Now, hopefully, Bitcoin kind of rebounds and doesn't pull down the market with it. Bitcoin to date, and I actually did a post about this also earlier, hasn't really had the volume that it had previously before last summer. Excuse me. So in the time since last summer, it's sort of been really low in volume, and I want to show you all this what it looks like right now, because this matters a lot for Jasmy in particular. So here's the Bitcoin volume. Pretty low, nothing really substantial. So at the same time, it's funny how this whole market will swing bearish or bullish, right? And CT goes full bear because it starts recording some red candles, right? But if you look down here at the volume, look at how low that red volume is. This isn't anything significant. This isn't any kind of a big sell or anything like that. So as of right now, I'm not too worried about this. I'm looking to see if we stay within this trend and hopefully break out. If we break below this lower trend line, well, then it could just straight up dump from there and it could take everything else down with it. That's how it works, right? So going back to Twitter, where was that post? Here we go. So I posted here, I said, observation, low Bitcoin volume since last summer. Why? Is it the early bear market, or is it long-term games are no longer competitive in Bitcoin, as in when compared to proof of stake, staking rewards, or even the new proof of work blockchains that are just really, really good, like Cadena, for example, like a really, really good blockchain. And so the crux is alts can't move without Bitcoin. That's the crux of everything. I've showed that a lot on CoinMarketCap, where it's very tightly correlated, right? So solutions, we either need to incentivize Bitcoin investment somehow. Somehow it's got to get incentivized, or the rewards got to get better, or institutions need to buy it. Maybe that happens, with this continuing inflation because all their cash reserves are plummeting in value. Maybe. Or maybe the market as a whole kind of needs to start eliminating some of these BTC pairs, and then everything wouldn't be so tightly correlated. My personal view is I almost feel like we need some sort of overarching body in the crypto industry that can make decisions, or at the very least, like a DAO that's decentralized, that the various players can vote into, and maybe we can change the way some of this operates. And until that happens, I think we're going to keep on going through this same kind of oddball pattern that we're in now, where Bitcoin in the past was very attractive, right? So Bitcoin has to get attractive again. That's what's holding us up right now. That's why Plan B's models fell short. That's why we're currently just sort of lagging along, right? Bitcoin has to get a little more sexy. It really does. And it's just not there right now. And so, I'd done a post, I want to say maybe a couple months ago, where I said exactly that. I said, are you buying Bitcoin or are you buying altcoins? And I want to say nearly everybody said, hey, I'm buying altcoins. So the altcoins have a lot more appeal, I think, than they did in the past. And because of that, Bitcoin has a harder time competing with them. So as Bitcoin gets slower and slower on the move up, then that would mean that the market would also get slower and slower, right? So maybe what's happening is the market is just going to get much less volatile long term, simply because Bitcoin is not going to have meteoric moves. Because the higher it gets in market cap, the higher it become, or the harder it becomes to achieve those market caps, right? when you're doubling a market cap of, let's say, 1 million to 2 million, that's easy. 2 million to 4 million, easy. But if you're doubling, 1 trillion to 2 trillion, that's not easy. And so, it comes into that global adoption. It comes into getting more people on board. Maybe it comes down to FOMO. Maybe we need some more FOMO here. But in terms of Bitcoin itself, I don't know what else we can do other than somehow there needs to be some sort of incentive for Bitcoin to get moving again, and therefore then the rest of the market would move. But otherwise, if it's not going to move, then coins like Jasmy, as well as anything else that are tightly correlated, which is pretty much all of the altcoins, it just becomes a little bit harder. So we're in a bit of a weird spot, I think, ultimately with this market is what I'm getting down to. That's the entire point of this. But for the Jasmy chart, I am looking at the bottom trend line. So that's what's the most important item, and we'll see what happens from there. So again, it could dip a little further from where it is right now on that lower trend line. But from there, I would expect a rebound. And hopefully, in the meantime, Bitcoin will get it back together. Here's the current Bitcoin chart. So hopefully it breaks out of this positively. If by chance it breaks lower and it kind of busts through this bottom line, well, then sort of we start off a whole new phase. So we got to throw out all the lines here, all the trends, and start over again, right? So we'll see what happens. But overall, in today's video, there's just so much news here going on with Jasmy and all these stories. And, if I had had any idea that they would have posted this much news within 2 days of my previous video, I probably wouldn't have done that video. So really funny. All right. So that being said, I'm going to wrap everything up here with some final thoughts. Here at the Keeping It Real Finance channel, we need your support. All of the content on this channel is entirely organic, meaning we did the video on a topic that we simply like, or we did it because of a request from one of you, our viewers. So that being said, if you enjoyed today's video and would like to support the channel, there are multiple ways you can do that to help us to continue to create and level up our content. Our affiliate links will be available in the video description to cover platforms we endorse and use ourselves. Support the channel today and earn sign-up bonuses along the way. We also have a merch shop available with links below the video or directly by visiting KIRfinance.myspreadshop.com, where we offer tons of great designs and product options. We've got everyone in the family covered. Help support us by picking up merch and sharing your photo on social media. We may even send you an NFT. Speaking of NFTs, at OpenSea.io we have our NFT series, The Liberty or Death Crossroads, available now. Pick one up today and enjoy special upcoming perks and exclusive content with our planned upcoming courses, Patreon, and Discord group. If you're a reader and simply looking to step up your game in personal finance, I also wrote a book in 2015 titled Driving Through Potholes, Financial Strategy and Life Lessons for Those Looking to Rediscover the American Dream. The book is available now at Amazon in Kindle and paperback. And lastly, if you'd simply like one-on-one consulting, feel free to reach out anytime at keepingitrealsince1982@gmail.com. We greatly appreciate your support today, and now let's get back to the video. Alright, so to wrap up today's video with some final thoughts. So, hitting the easy rocks first, 2 more exchange listings, bullish on that. Whether we ever get a Robinhood listing, who knows? Maybe we will get a Gemini listing in the future. Either way, all the exchange listings are just spreading the word more and more through the promotions, right? So we're in that second 25 weeks of IR, the promotional activities, and we're really just a couple of weeks into it. So we've still got quite a ways here. This is going to go all the way into the summer, further promotions. So we'll see what happens here with even more exchange listings. I would not doubt that for a second. All right. Now, what I thought was really bullish in today's video was the news with the Nippon travel agency using Jasmy IoT and the AI to come up with future trips. Essentially, that is super bullish. And then also the fund token with Sagan Tosu, following the same model of Chili's. So between the two of those, why this is really big is because being one of the only blockchain IoT projects that has any approval whatsoever in Japan means that they kind of have full reign over the Japanese market, right? Which is a big market. So there are tons of sporting events, tons of sporting teams. As I mentioned in the video, you could apply this to music. There's a lot of ways that you can go with that fun token. Going back to the travel agency, you know, how cool would it be if you could simply put your, the last trip you went on into the personal data locker, and then this comes up with your next trip. That would be amazing. It may come up with trips that you never even thought you wanted to go on that you would absolutely love, right? So really, really cool idea. They could definitely expand that big time. Then, to kind of top it all off with yet another promotional newspaper article with the whole team in it this time. So it's not just Hera. Now we have the rest of the team in there talking about it also. That was totally awesome. I really love CT for things like this because sometimes it's really hard to find these various articles on Jasmy, especially since they're Japanese based. And even that one, that was Japan News. The website that did it was not Japan News. That was a different site. And so there's translation. It's hard to follow. But luckily I have no lack of supply of Jasmy content in my Twitter feed these days. So prior to doing this video, I wanted to do some videos on some other stuff. And I just can't ignore it. I mean, there's just so much happening here, right? So very, very bullish on all of those fronts. Now, the only thing that's bearish right now is the overall market is in a bit of a dip, which is what it does every couple of days, understood. So hopefully Bitcoin rebounds, but really we just want to see if we can hit off that bottom trend line. In the meantime, if you're doing a DCA, this is a great time to just kind of keep on loading up. That's what you do, right? So as I mentioned in all my other videos, I've got my DCA going, I just add a little bit daily, that's about it. And then over time, you have a pretty nice sized bag for when this thing gets going. In terms of where we are right now, as I mentioned in Blake's post, we're sort of between that period 1 and 2. We're not really fully in period 2. We're nowhere near period 3, nowhere near period 4. So we are very, very early, all right? Now, all of that being said, wrapping up this video, we do have our call on Sunday. So if you're on CT, definitely, set that reminder, join in on the call. You can listen, you can ask questions, you can learn a lot of information there. So definitely check that out. That's a really good thing, especially to fill in some of these blanks, because sometimes it's a little hard to follow some of this stuff. But all the various speakers, the hosts, as I mentioned before, they find things that I've never found before, that I've never seen before, and you start connecting these dots and you go, wow, like this really could go a really long way. Today's video, I didn't even talk about any of the stuff with, potential with Toyota and the cars. There's so many ways it can go, and it's so bullish because it's the one and only in Japan. This is the big one, right? So really, really bullish couple of days of news, and that's why I had to give you a weekly update number 2. All right? So if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit the like button. Don't forget that I am also on Twitter at KIR Finance, where you can find me tweeting and retweeting, so check me out there. And lastly, for a friendly reminder, this is Jesse with Keeping It Real Finance, channel that always says your back, tells it like it is, and I will see you on the next one. Later.